Things have changed since the last Apocalypse Joust. More survivors have made their way to safety under the bridge. But it's a more dangerous and unpredictable world. Natural disasters can strike at any time. It's still survive or be destroyed. Welcome to the Apocalypse Joust.
5 more teams hit the track in the ultimate test of survival, the Junkyard Joust. It is the 4th qualifier. We're nearly halfway through. Let's take a closer look at the teams. This team is looking a little overgrown. It's Mark's Mossy Mashers. Don't forget to smile. You'll be smiling as this team rolls over you. The J&J trucking team features a lot of power and one very low undercutter. Not to be confused with the Apocalypse Punks, it's the Punks of the Apocalypse. They're geared up and ready to go. And Williams War Dogs, with what looks to be a very agile team. Accompanying Mark's Mossy Mashers was this big rig, stopping over at Mabel's Mystery Meats. There must have been a mistake. And Mark's Mossy Mashers will start us off in round 1 of this competition. Moss, sponsored by Chorgoth the Infinite Horror, takes its position halfway down, well actually more than halfway, and will be followed up by the big one for Don't Forget to Smile, Beast from the Red Pond, sponsored by Evil Twin. The Beast immediately annihilates Moss and the track buffer, throwing them both around like nothing, setting up that ramp. This vehicle is going to be tough to contend with. First vehicle to take that ramp, FedEx delivery truck for the J&J trucking team, sponsored by Hendrick's Heavy Hauling. Boom! It smashes into the upper ramp on the top, flies off, goes over, and is eliminated. Down for the count, that's 2 out. Should be interesting to see some cars take that upper ramp. Patch job for the Punks, sponsored by Tim the Bear Neal. Patch job takes the ramp successfully, flying and flipping, barrel rolling into the wall, making the landing. It's a precarious position, hits a 7 before it finally lands on top of Moss. We'll see if it stays. You won't be seeing all the height checks. A lot of cars are going to be hitting heights, but if any go higher than 7, you'll see it. Turdosaur, sponsored by Reaper EOD and driven by Carolyn and Rachel for Williams War Dogs. Turdosaur hits that ramp and flips around a lot, landing flat against the wall and unfortunately cannot make a recovery. The wall is in the way. Unlucky landing for Turdosaur. We're back around the roster to Mark's Mossy Mashers Extinct, sponsored by StarCorps Industries. StarCorps Industries, of course, responsible for most of the buildings rebuilt after the first apocalypse. Extinct does not go extinct. Warrior, sponsored by Avery's Reliable Autos. Warrior takes the ramp and a little self-inflicted damage here for Don't Forget to Smile. Warrior can't handle the ramp and does what it says on the ramp. Heavy Loader, sponsored by G-Zeus. Looked like it might have had a chance to get underneath the ramp, but doesn't manage it. Flies up and hits the wall and makes a great recovery, though, for J&J Trucking. Pinup, sponsored by Mark the Music Lover. Pin up and all those giant pins flip into the wall and bam, lands sideways, can't quite make it back to right side up, and that will be an elimination. Devastation Wagon, sponsored by the Test Joust series and driven by Daniel. Devastation Wagon launches into the air and hits a new height record for this match. It doesn't survive, unfortunately, but it does hit an 8, nearly a 9, before plummeting back down into the pile that is now growing, and it is finished. That's 2 down for the War Dogs. Moss on Jet Threat, sponsored by Chris and Kat's Casa de Chaos. There may be a little moss on Jet Threat, but Jet Threat is still humming. No problem recovering from that launch off the flipper jump, and it makes a recovery. Here comes Duck Truck, sponsored by King Jester. The duck secured in the back of the truck does not come out despite massive twirling and spinning. However, the truck does not find a good landing spot and is upside down and out. Another self-inflicted casualty for Don't Forget to Smile. Runaway Marshall Truck, sponsored by, it could be sponsored by you if you become a patron now. Whoa, the Marshall truck turns into a whirling vortex and spins to an amazing recovery on top of the ever-growing pile. Lands against the wall, and that's great for J&J Trucking. Apocalypse, sponsored by Judy Collins. Apocalypse floats and spins off the jump, lands against the wall, and those giant pieces of metal attached to the back of the car get attached to the wall somehow. They clip to it, and I think they've done Apocalypse a favor. It is right side up and just hanging there. The Monster, sponsored by Sand Dragon Workshop, driven by Aviva. A 6-gram car doesn't even make it up the ramp. It tries to drive off of it and escape. Just about makes it. Monster is the lightest car to ever compete in the Apocalypse Joust. Old Mossy, sponsored by Farty Marty. Old Mossy slams into Monster, and Monster survives after a big tumble. Only 6 grams, it was bound to happen. Mossy, however, does not survive after multiple barrel rolls, ends up upside down and finished. Nice recovery by Monster. Laughing Gas, sponsored by Emo Dingo. Laughing Gas just flops right over. A self-inflicted wound again. This ramp is taking out all of the Don't Forget to Smile team. But can anyone take out that ramp? Oh, and here we go. We've got our first random event of the competition. It's a rock slide. This rock slide brought to you by Beak's Busted Barn Finds. Rock slides are a common occurrence in the apocalypse. They seem to just drop straight out of the sky, or maybe from a cliff much farther up that we can't see. Or maybe Cookie drops them. Not really sure, but they are on the track now, and they could play a role in this fight. War Tank's gonna have to contend with them first, sponsored by Tribble's Troublemakers. War Tank smashes the rocks all over the place, drives off to the right, and manages to survive. The rocks may have even helped, who can say? Next up, it'll be Off-Ramp for the punks of the apocalypse. Off-Ramp takes the ramp and flops over after, actually doesn't even hit the wall. There's a big spike sticking out of the back of it, but that will not come into play. It could not survive the ramp and is finished. Finless, sponsored by the Mad Brit King and driven by Theo. Finless manages to stay flat and makes a great recovery, wide enough to stay balanced even at the top of that jump, and it makes a great landing. That'll be a recovery for the War Dogs. Mossy Masher, sponsored by Moo Cow Horse Farm. Mossy Masher can't get under the jump, flips around a lot, hits the wall, kind of sticks on the wall, almost seems like it's gonna stay there, and then flips down, pointed towards the ground. Looking eliminated to me right now. Twisted Perception, sponsored by the Aardvark of Freedom. Twisted Perception doesn't quite make it off the jump, slides off to the right, tips, and looks eliminated to me in that position. Could that be yet another self-elimination? Fast Racer, sponsored by K&E Stewart Agri-Services. Fast Racer not super fast off that ramp, kind of bounces a little bit, but makes the recovery, and that's all that matters. Great news for J&J. Spike for the punks, sponsored by Sicken. Spikes, whoa, I think maybe we're getting another height check on that thing. Holy cow, it goes way up in the air, and it makes a recovery, and it hits an 11. It actually makes it up to 11, sticks to the wall briefly before making a landing. Unbelievable. That's got to be the highest jump so far in this Apocalypse tournament, maybe ever. Final car of the round is Power Outage, sponsored by William Erickson of the Joust Network and driven by William. Power Outage ramps it, hits the wall, and makes a recovery, and actually helps out Don't Forget to Smile. Twisted Perception just recovered on that hit. 11 eliminations in that round. Look at the wreckage and devastation. Couple of teams lost 3 vehicles. Let's take a look at the aftermath. Don't Forget to Smile massacred 3 of its own, and Mark's Mossy Mashers were hit pretty hard as well, losing 3. Punks of the Apocalypse and Williams War Dogs each lost 2. They are down to 3 remaining. And the J&J Trucking team had the best round. They only lost 1. They'll start us off in round 2 with Heavy Loader taking its place down at the end of the track. Good round for J&J. Let's see if they can keep it up. So far, so bad. Finless takes out Heavy Loader, throwing it sideways on the track buffer. It has not really landed yet, though, so maybe there's a chance for a recovery here. Patch Job goes off Finless and does the trick. Heavy Loader makes the recovery happen. It was a slow backing away from the wall, and we are back to no eliminations yet in the round. Extinct solves that problem by going extinct, hitting the wall and flipping over upside down, getting caught in a tough spot. That's going to be a loss for the Mashers. Meanwhile, Patch Job makes a full escape off the track. Don't forget to smile, send down the Beast, and it doesn't get underneath Finless. Look at that, it sort of neatly jumps on top of Finless. This is very odd. It stays alive, just balancing on top, and now the ramp is kind of set up still, but this is a precarious position. Runway Marshal still manages to take that jump, and look at this recovery, catapulting into the wall and making it stick, bouncing off all the other cars. Great landing, great recovery. The 6-gram monster takes the ramp and flops over sideways. It's so light, though, it's entirely possible to get jostled back alive again. Apocalypse flies up and off of that ramp again. Wow, what a jump, and it looks like it makes the recovery happen again. And apparently the rocks are loose today. It's a rock slide level 2, even larger and more rocks. Brought to us by Beaks Busted Barn Finds, landing on the track. Will they affect what happens in this round? The Beast just being pelted by these things right now. And now Moss on Jet Threat will have to contend with the rocks. It smashes over the rocks, basically just drives over them, gets wedged in at the wall, stuck. That's bad news for the Mashers. Twisted Perception takes a bash at those rocks, drives off the track. Those rocks may have helped it make the survive happen, but the Beast is tipping just a little. Wartake slams into the rocks, and the ramp gets kind of caught up on it and flips over. Does not make a recovery, and that's a loss for J&J. Power Outage manages to get over the rocks, take the ramp, and flip off to a great recovery. Look at the agility on that car. Great news for the War Dogs. Spike hits those rocks. The ramp is going up now on top of the rocks, but stability has found the Beast. It is just about in the safety area. Fast Racer takes a shot at Spike, throws it over sideways, and that was a takedown. The Punks will lose a vehicle on that hit, and now look at this. It is under the Beast. Lucky for the Beast from the red pond, there's no more cars coming down. We've got 5 eliminations in round 2, and it's done. A lot of cleaning up to do before the next round. Let's take a look at the aftermath. Mark's Mossy Mashers lost 2. They are out of the match. We have lost our first team. All the other teams except Don't Forget to Smile lost 1. That puts the War Dogs, the Punks, and Don't Forget to Smile all at 2. J&J still out front at 3. Press X Private Parts has brought us the first random event in round 3. It is an acid spill. Looks like some toxic waste has leaked out of the track buffer, and now Heavy Loader is going to have to contend with that waste. Heavy Loader does not contend with the waste very well. It drives over it, but flips sideways and ends up down at the end of the track in trouble. J&J starts out the round with a loss, if it stays like that. Patch Job also bounces over the toxic waste and drives up to the front, slowed it down just a little bit. Here comes the Beast, and it wipes the toxic waste off the track, throwing it off the track along with everything else that was there. Patch Job makes a recovery, and great news for J&J. Heavy Loader's back in action. Look at that. So much force into that wall. Power Outage heaves itself into the sky. Look at the height on that, and it makes the recovery. Williams War Dogs chose well with this car. It has made a recovery every time. Great job. Didn't make it to an 11, but that must have been high. The Runaway Marshal truck tries the same thing, but can't make it work. Oh man, it almost got stuck at the very top of that wall panel. It kind of hangs there for a second, but then it falls down sideways and out. Apocalypse takes the ramp. Look at that great landing. It lands on top of Heavy Loader, jumps like a frog, and just kind of perches there. And it's going to survive the round if it can stay there. Twisted Perception ramps off its own teammate and makes a recovery happen, it looked like to me. Yep, that was a perfect roll. I don't know if Don't Forget to Smile planned it that way, but that worked out great. Apocalypse could not keep the perch now. Uh-oh, that looks like trouble. Finless takes the ramp and again has a good result. Flips over, does a barrel roll, and lands it. Perfection. I wonder if the car is better without a fin at barrel rolls. Fast Racer ramps. Ooh, it does not end well. Fast Racer flips over, can't do what Finless just did, and is done. Another loss for J&J. That was the final car of the round, and we are going to have to take a measurement. 2 eliminations in the round, and the measurement is going to be on Apocalypse for the punks. Apocalypse is at 49 degrees, just beyond the elimination number of 45 degrees. That's 3 total for the round. Taking a look at the aftermath, J&J took a big hit that time. They lost 2, they're down to 1, and the punks lost 1, down to 1. Don't forget to smile, and the War Dogs are steady at 2 and now in the lead. They will start us off. Don't forget to smile with Beast from the Red Pond. I would hazard to guess that most of the cars eliminated in this round because of this vehicle. You knew it was going to happen. Power outage does it again. No problem with that landing and ensures that Williams War Dogs make it to the next round. Great recovery. Next up, Patch Job. Bad luck for Patch Job and very bad luck for the punks. That was their final car. If Patch Job doesn't find a way back upright again, they're finished. Maybe an earthquake will help. An earthquake sponsored by Sloss Automotive Sachet and Buffet. It doesn't look like a very big one, but it could still have some effect. So far, nothing, everything shaking, and it looks like it's not gonna do anything. Everybody is safe. Just a tremor. You never know, though. One of these days, we might get a big one. Heavy Loader flops off that jump, goes sideways. Heavy Loader's done this before and somehow made a recovery. I hope it can do it again, because otherwise J&J Trucking are finished. Twisted Perception with a perfect barrel roll off of its teammate's ramp makes that recovery. Does not help Heavy Loader. That's important. Right now we are down to just 2 teams, and this match will be over depending on what happens when Finless hits the ramp. Finless flips off. Was that a double barrel roll? Finless doing it just once and making that landing perfect. That does mean that the match is over. Both teams with 2 surviving the round with 2. And we had 2 eliminations. Round 4 Aftermath. Punks of the Apocalypse and the J&J Trucking team made an effort here, but they couldn't keep it going. However, right now, both the J&J Trucking team and Punks of the Apocalypse have a shot at the wild card. They'll have to hope that the remaining qualifiers are pretty short. Don't forget to smile, and Williams War Dogs will move on to the glorious main event. They join these 6 other teams that have now qualified. Next week, 5 more will attempt to survive the apocalypse. In the meantime, we've all got to take shelter. The weather is turning bad. See you next time on The Joust.